All right, welcome to the First Huddle Up podcast. My name is Michi.
I'm Mo Reppin 816.
Today we have a special guest with us, Larry Sanders of DOLOCOIN Mentoring. Thanks for being with us today.
No problem. Good to be here.
All right, today we're gonna just kind of get into some things. This is the first podcast, so with everything that's been going on, with the excitement of the off season, with the excitement of what's going on with the preseason, our new quarterback, new additions to the team. Of course, the first podcast we're going to talk about the Kansas City Chiefs, what we like, what we didn't like, what could be possibly the fixes to the problems that we have. What have you seen so far throughout the preseason from the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, what I've seen so far is the defense is very suspect, and I think it's primarily the secondary. I think our linebackers and our D line is pretty set. I just think we need to find a way to buckle down and settle down on secondary. So.
Exactly, I agree. I think probably 95% of all Kansas City Chiefs fans can say that so far it's been the defense. What have you seen so far from the Kansas City Chiefs?
Well, what I haven't seen yet that I've been looking for is that leadership among that core of linebackers that we have, a definite leadership to push those players past their limits. You got to be able to play. You do some things in preseason, you do some things in the game, but at times you're called on to do just a little bit more than you have done in the past, and so I think that's what's going to help them.
So, okay, you say that leadership. Kind of elaborate for some people, some of our younger people who may be watching sports who really don't get it. Kind of elaborate on that leadership role and what you're talking about that the defense needs.
The leadership role, it extends from not only on the field, but also it comes from the locker room to the field. That person that go-to person that when a player is, not possibly, maybe not living up to their best potential, or even bringing that energy that they should have in order to get past any competition on the field. Somebody has to be able to push them to bring that energy that's going to help them do whatever they need to do on the field to win those games.
Exactly. Okay, so with that being said, let me ask you this question. Who on that defensive side or offensive side can be that vocal, strong leader that we need?
I think Ragland, possibly. He's got that. I mean, he's got the kind of ability on the field that players will look up to him.
Exactly.
And if he exerts himself, then people will look unto him more. And then, they just kind of, people are feeling for that leadership.
Exactly.
I think Ragland's going to have to go ahead and step up and take on that leadership role, because I'm not quite sure how much longer Eric Berry will actually be here, considering he's pretty injury prone now, and I don't want to say he's getting on the downside of his career, but his body is starting to show a lot of wear and tear, and like not really saying giving up, but he's just on that side now. And Justin Houston's just not that vocal leader. He's a leader for the D line and the linebackers, but he doesn't. We need a leadership for that whole entire field on defense.
Exactly. Now you hit it on the head. Justin Houston is a leader as far as showing the players how to be a professional player and how to go about having a good work ethic. But a name that's not mentioned, and I know a lot of people will probably disagree with this because he just got here, but Kendall Fuller.
Oh, okay.
Kendall Fuller has the ability to be that vocal leader. When you hear about when he left the Washington Redskins, what Junior Gillette said about him, what Bashard Breeland said about him, they said this guy would stand up and take charge of the film room, of the film sessions, things like that. They said he was always trying to perfect his game. They said he would get on guys about being out of position and not working as hard as they should. So I think he has the ability to be that.
That's what they need.
That leader, that leader for the defense.
Absolutely.
So what about the offensive side of the ball?
I'll let you take that one.
Even though he's young, second-year player, the quarterback has to develop that leadership.
Exactly.
Everything is going to run through him. He's got to be the voice. He's going to be the voice in the locker room. He's got to be the voice even when they're doing interviews. Mm-hmm. He's got to be the voice. People are going to take his lead. They're going to watch him. They're going to see how he handles adversity. Mm-hmm. And that's what's going to be the key to developing that leadership role.
And I think he's I'm not going to say all the way there, but I think he's pretty close to being at that level because his father used to play in Major League. So I think he's ahead of the scale when it comes to maturity level as a young quarterback. And I do think he's a vocal leader. He just needs to be a little bit more vocal and aggressive, and show that it's his team and he needs to take control over it and decide the fate of the game. And that's what he needs to do. So. Exactly,
I agree with that, and I believe it starts. You mentioned something earlier about having the correct mentality, and I think it starts with him with his mentality. When the report came out that he said he didn't want to take any. Endorsements because he wanted to show that he was worth it. I think that it started right there. And I think the more he gets a hold of his game, the more vocal and the more take charge he will be with the offense. Right now, like you said, the quarterback has to be the leader. Mm-hmm. I'm not saying it's hard for him, but I'm saying it's hard for somebody if I don't know exactly where I'm supposed to be right now. Right. It's hard for me to take charge. But the more he gets it, maybe mid-season, you'll see a command in the huddle from Patrick Mahomes that needs to happen. So
I like to get you guys' input on Sammy Watkins. Mm-hmm. Now I do recall hearing him say that he's been playing, I guess, 2 or 3 other receiver positions.
He's learning.
He's learning. Mm-hmm. Now, where do you all see him being in the offense? Is he the number 2, or is it possible that there could be another receiver come here and take his spot? Because from what I'm seeing, I'm not saying take his starting spot, but just come in there and outshine him.
Exactly.
Like, is there another receiver, tight end of sort that will come in and will have better numbers than Sammy Watkins this season outside of Tyreek Hill?
I don't know about the numbers. That's kind of hard for me to predict. But I think the Chiefs have so many weapons that if a player accepts his role as being a piece or an integral part of the weaponry that they have, I think they'll all have a good season. Travis Kelce, all the other receivers, the running backs, if they accept their role as being a part of this this team that we're trying to build that leads to a championship season, I think they'll all have good season. The numbers, I don't think he's going to be that excited about building up numbers and stats as much as he is getting wins.
Gotcha.
And which that's most of the players on that team that's their field.
I'm gonna take a page out of Tyreek Hill's playbook. Tyreek Hill made a statement that said when they acquired Sammy Watkins, it was like having Dwayne Wade and LeBron James on the same team. Now, here's how I'm going to use what Tyreek Hill said for what we're talking about right here. When LeBron James and D Wade got together, it was amazing because it flowed, because they had LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh, right? Right. Now, the reason why it flowed is not because they all scored or averaged 40 points a game. Right. It flowed because when LeBron scored 40, D-Wade was cool with that. Mm-hmm. When D-Wade scored 40, LeBron was cool with that. Yeah. If Chris Bosh scored 40, everybody was good with it. Why? Because, like you said, it contributes to the win.
Everybody knows their role.
Exactly. Everybody knows their role. So I think Sammy Watkins, if one game he comes out and he has 5 targets, 3 catches for 46 yards, Travis Kelce has 8 catches for 150. Tyreek Hill has 2 for 50. I think everybody will be okay with that as long as you get the W. So I think it'll work once everything comes together.
Okay. So I'd like to get your input, Mr. Sanders, on Bob Sutton, defensive coordinator. What is your honest opinion of him?
Let me just say, first of all, I would love to believe that the Chiefs defense is going to gel, it's going to work out. But this whole attitude that surrounds that defense of this bend but don't break feel that they have. We're going to have to be able to put players in a better position all the way up and down the field to stop the run, first of all.
Exactly.
They're going to have to do better in the backfield because, even you watch games and you see that quarterbacks miss receivers, not based on any defense that we played, but the quarterback just missed the receiver. We watched it in the first game that we saw. They had wide open receivers. So we're going to have to do a better, prepare better for the backfield. And then the whole linebacking core, that second wave, because when running backs get past that second wave, that linebacking core, then, everything's come crashing down real quick.
Exactly.
We're going to have to shore those things up. So he's going to have to present a better scheme. I don't know if they're saving something that they didn't present in preseason. Hopefully they are.
Hopefully so. Yeah.
But it's got to be better than what we saw in the preseason.
Hopefully so. Yeah, I agree. The scheme that we play now that will let you get only so far. And then, hopefully we'll either turn the ball over or you'll kick a field goal. That's not going to work. No. You can't play your receivers or your defenders 10 yards off the ball on third and short, second and short. We have to stop putting our linebackers in positions to where they have to cover wide receivers. That's going to always present mismatches. It seems like throughout the preseason, we really haven't seen any pressure on the quarterback. We seen a sack yesterday, which was a good sack, which was a stupid call. We'll talk about that in a couple of seconds. That was a dumb call, but the play itself was good. Like that's one of the first and second times we've actually seen pressure get to the quarterback. But those things, to me, have to happen, especially in our own division. Even though our division is not built up to be the best, they're still tough.
Yeah.
The Broncos still tough. The Chargers and the Raiders, they're still tough. So we have to shore up some of those things, especially with the first 6 games of the season. I believe we played the Chargers, we played the Steelers, and we played the New England Patriots. So we're going to have to shore those things up if we want to come out of those games with a win.
Yeah, and I think probably the game that sticks out to me most in that schedule that you mentioned is the game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Because for some reason, against Pittsburgh seems to have our number.
We lose.
And if we can somehow, we played Pittsburgh tough. Don't get me wrong, but we have to get over that hump. It's kind of like the days of Michael Jordan when he had to get past that Detroit bad boys.
Exactly.
We have to do that same thing against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
I almost think when we play Pittsburgh that Ben Roethlisberger kind of wears us down.
Yeah.
And I think because if you notice that we'll hold, and then we get to the third, back into the third, and into the fourth quarter, and that's when you see him just pick us apart, and we'll just collapse.
Exactly.
So I think he just wears us down, and was it Brown?
Antonio Brown.
He's
Brown is
going to
Brown.
do.
So you just got to hope for the
best. Can't stop that,
Brown.
but I just think they wear us out, and then they just basically just go in for the kills.
Exactly.
Well, if we do not put pressure. Because Ben Roethlisberger is not one of those quarterbacks that you're going to have to chase all over the field. He's not going to be a scrambler. Yeah. He's pretty much going to be right there. And so if we get to the point where we can put pressure on the quarterback, then we can start to make him think a little bit. Exactly. But right now, if he can just stand there and just kind of count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and then choose his receiver, then we're going to be dead in the water again against the Pittsburgh Steelers.
So we talked about the offensive side of the ball, where we're at, where we're going, defensive side of the ball, where they are at, where they're going. What are, if any, fixes necessary for the defense? What could possibly be done for the defense, whether it be schemes, whether it be personnel? What do you think should happen?
Well, I think a healthy Eric Berry is going to make a huge difference.
Exactly. That's number one.
He's probably the most vocal. He's the most confident in his game. And so, you talk about Pat Mahomes becoming more confident. Well, Eric Berry is kind of at that point where he's confident in his game. He knows that teams are preparing, to look at him and make sure that he doesn't beat them. So he has that confidence. So I think the secondary will be shored up with the insertion of Eric Berry. The scheme that those linebackers are put in, like you said, having them to cover a receiver. Ooh, that's going to be a tough one. I think Justin Houston in the past, they've called on him to even cover a tight end.
Exactly, yeah.
And we've seen that does not work. So those things are going to have to be done away with. We're going to have to do something different to make sure that they're in the right position to make the right play, and then let their athleticism take over from there. Okay. But you got to put them in the right position.
And I think really the deciding factor in the defense, especially the secondary, is Daniel Sorensen. People underestimate what Sorensen brings to this team. Yeah. This guy can play linebacker, can play safety. And, I'm not even doubting he can play corner if you have to put him in. I mean, I wouldn't want to see him play corner.
I'm pretty sure
you
could.
You can put him at corner. But I think once he went down, I think that kind of changed the whole trajectory of the secondary.
Exactly.
I mean, we was okay. I'm not saying we were okay with Eric Berry being out, but exactly. I mean, we could adjust to that. Yeah. Because Sorensen already knew the scheme. He already knew he could just line up, bam, let's go. This is what I need to do. But when Sorensen went down, and then Berry, Berry
that was huge.
Still dealing with his issue.
That was huge.
That hurt.
That
hurt. Emerson has been getting burnt since the first preseason game.
Everything past 15 yards, he gets burnt.
Steven Nelson. Nelson plays 15 yards off on 3rd and 1, and I don't know if it's Bob Sutton having to do that.
I think it's Bob Sutton.
It just makes no sense. Yeah. It makes absolutely no sense.
I think, and I know this has been the thing with a lot of Chiefs fans this preseason, because I think kind of in panic mode since we lost Peters, but it has to be done. They have to get on the phone and they have to call. I get it. You're finding people who are available, both physically and monetarily. You have to call a reliable cornerback to come in and anchor down the other side of the ball opposite Kendall Fuller. Brashard Breeland is still available. I don't know what the situation is with him, what he's waiting on, what he's weighing, what his options are. You're going to have to go ahead and say, hey, look, this is what we're willing to do if you're willing to come in and, play defense. You're going to have to call a TJ Ward. You're going to have to call another safety with some veteran leadership. I get it. Watts is good. He showed flashes of greatness. McQuay is good. He showed flashes of greatness. Right now, we don't need flashes. We need consistency of goodness. I would take consistency of goodness over flashes of greatness anytime. So I think those couple of moves can be made. I think our defensive 7 or front 7 is good. I think our linebacking core is good. I love the defensive line. I love the D linemen, 93, 94, 95, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
All the 90s. I love them. But I think if we can fix the secondary issues that we have, I think we can possibly get back to the playoffs, make a deep run. Who knows? So,
I believe.
So I know we had a discussion the other day about why are our starters playing so much in the preseason.
Yeah.
I feel like I think we know the answer to that.
Exactly. I think we do. I was the one who said I think that the 2 games was enough. I think we knew who the starters were. I mean, I still think we know who the starters were. But yesterday, I think showed people that we need to play even the 4th preseason game.
Of course.
At least a quarter.
Yeah.
Getting beat by the Bears' second string.
Second and
third string. It didn't do a whole lot of good. Plus, I think we need to also find out who our 2s and 3s are going to be. Kind of get them some reps, get them in the flow.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, fans are looking for productivity in especially the 3rd game.
Exactly.
First game, second game, they, you kind of say, okay, they're making some progress, these 2nd and 3rd string players. But the 3rd game is traditionally that game where you see your starters and you see them shine and you see them getting ready for that first game of the season. Well, we didn't see that.
Yeah, we didn't see that.
And so now fans are still kind of up in the air about, okay, what is our team going to look like?
Exactly.
Normally about this time we have an idea, but right now we don't.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the worry and the panic that's coming from us as fans is the fact that they hyped the team up over the offseason. We had Patrick Mahomes, and we had I think we had a great draft class. I think these guys show a lot of promise, but I think the hype did not match what we saw through the first 3 preseasons. So now we're looking for the productivity to match all the hype. So I think that contributes to a lot of the panic and worry coming from the fans.
People value paper over experience. So on paper, it looks good.
Yeah.
But once you get out there, you don't have any experience. It's going to definitely show.
Yeah.
So
I agree.
I think that's the case we're in right now.
Definitely agree. So another topic that's coming up this preseason are a lot of these new, I don't want to say new rules, but I think they're paying more attention to them now. What do you guys think about this new way of tackling, or roughing the passer, or whatever they're called, roughing the runner, roughing the receiver, roughing everybody? What do you think about this new rule that they're now enforcing more?
Well, just going back to the play that the call on Saturday.
Exactly.
Replay it over and over again. The player didn't lead with his helmet. He didn't pick the quarterback up and drive him into the ground. He came with a classic tackle.
Yeah.
The way that it's taught from the time you're in Little League all the way up.
Yeah.
And a penalty was called. And the explanation that was given just won't set well with anybody.
I don't get it.
Because if you tell a player that you do this the way that I told you to do it, and you go in and you do just that, and then you get penalized for it, I mean, it's going to water down the game, because now this guy's going to be thinking, now I can't do it that way.
How do you not put your weight when you're tackling? How do you not put your weight on the quarterback?
That's actually
If
part
you go to
of
the ground.
a full tackle.
Yes.
When you fully tackle somebody, your weight will be on top of it.
Exactly.
So I don't get how we're supposed to tackle a running back, or how the defensive player is supposed to tackle a running back or a receiver any different than he tackles a quarterback.
I'm guessing it's more of a hit and release now. Like you have to hit. You can't really wrap the quarterback up anymore.
The only way to do what you're doing, and I agree with what you're saying, I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. The only way to do what you're doing is to start in Little League now, telling the players, wrap them up and then let them go. Because you're telling me that you're going to throw a flag every time a defensive player does what he's been taught in Little League, high school, college, and the pros. Now they're supposed to change 10, 15, 20 years of training because you want to call roughing the passer or leading with their helmet. I don't get it.
I don't understand it either.
It's not gonna work.
I think it's more. I mean, it's a quarterback's league. This is how they make their money.
Exactly.
So they have to protect the prized possession, and I think that's where we're seeing right now. I mean, because once Brady goes out, you have Rodgers. Rodgers is going to be the new face of the NFL.
Yeah.
So he's had 2 collarbones broken.
2 of them. Yeah.
So.
And here's the thing. I want to say on both of those injuries, the defender landed on top of him as the quarterback, but a flag was not thrown.
It's not thrown.
So you're right when you say I think it's a quarterback's league and they're trying to protect the face or their moneymakers of the league. So that's crazy. I don't agree with it, but I guess they're going to call it. So
I get trying to protect the quarterback. I understand it. The NFL is a league where they make a lot of money. The teams, and the face of the league is the quarterback. You're right. I mean, he's the one that's calling the shots. He's calling the signals.
Exactly.
Everything centers around him. Got to protect that guy. But do we have to, make the kind of judgments that they made in the game the other day? That was a bad call. And then, to me, if you're going to make a call like that, make it reviewable.
Exactly.
Because if you make the call and it's not reviewable, then possibly that player who has this type of penalty, then they're going to start finding them. And then who's going to be that aggressive on the field? And then what's going to happen to the game of football?
Yeah.
It's so watered down. Now I can't make a tackle anymore because.
I think you're right, because I do recall seeing Justin Houston do the interview yesterday.
Yeah.
And he said, now I have to go back and analyze my game.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now we
And
got to
see
go back
what
and
I can
check.
do, what I can't.
Absolutely.
So many words, I've been talking this my whole life. He also said we know what we signed up for also.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's not like the one's making them do it.
Yeah. So
it's
you knew
just,
when you were in the 6th grade, you were throwing the ball around. You said you wanted to be a quarterback. You knew they were going to gun for you. So
yeah.
you picked the position, not us. So hopefully, I don't know. We talk about the Chiefs. We hopefully they can make the correct adjustments, whether it comes through transactions, whether it comes through dialing up new schemes, offensively, defensively. I don't know. But we want to get into another topic. We're talking today, as we said earlier, to our special guest, Larry Sanders of DOLOCOIN Mentoring Group. We're just going to get some information from him regarding his mentoring. Just kind of tell us a little bit about who you are first and what it is that you do.
I'm Larry Sanders, lifelong Kansas City resident. I love the city. And my thing here, I've always tried to do what I could to help the youth in the Kansas City area. Try to give them some opportunities that possibly they wouldn't get normally on their own, the things that they probably wouldn't seek out or their parents maybe wouldn't seek out. Mm-hmm. So I look for those things for them and then present it to them as a way of, doing what I call having door opening experiences. Just to present them a way of life and a way of, progressing through your life and possibly becoming the professional that you never thought you could be. Exactly. Kind of like our youth court program where we take kids into youth court and twice a month they go in and they absolutely run the whole court. They try cases, they judge cases, they prosecute cases, they sit on the jury, they do all of those things, and they can see themselves doing something now that with proper training they could possibly do in the future.
Exactly. That is key. Doing something now that's positive that will actually affect the community and not continue to cause damage to the community.
Right.
And I think that's definitely what we need in our community.
So, could you tell us what was the initial inspiration behind DOLOCOIN Mentoring?
Absolutely. You know what? And people, I tell people this all the time, and actually this goes back as far as 1975, the summer of 1975. Just shooting basketball around in my backyard, and I saw a cab pull into the backyard, and just so happened the alley where the cab pulled into stopped right behind our house. Okay. And so when I saw the cab pull in, I started walking up to the cab driver. I was going to let him know, sir, if you need to find an address, I can help you because I live around here. Just then I saw a kid who had been at my house earlier that day pop up in the back seat, shoots the cab driver 3 times. Now, because he had been in my house earlier that day, when I saw him shoot the cab driver, I felt bad because I could have possibly talked to him earlier that day and maybe given him something that would cause him to make a better decision than he did. Exactly. And so from that day forward, I thought about, projecting forward, what if I can catch kids early in life and give them some information that keeps them from making bad decisions in their life? Yeah. And so I went to the Army. I thought about it all through my Army days over there in Germany, came home, and in 1982, I started mentoring kids, and I've been mentoring kids ever since.
Wow. That is...
I actually started April 2nd, 1982 with a baseball team, and one of the players on that baseball team was a kid named Willie Aikens. He was the nephew of one of the world's players at the time.
Wow.
So, he was one of the first kids on my mentoring program.
Wow, that's huge. That is a I guess you could say that was a traumatic deal but it caused a positive effect and not a negative effect.
And there's a term that's being tossed around now that I didn't know about then, but secondary trauma. And it could destroy you or it could motivate you. I allowed it to motivate me, and so we've done things with children. Right now we have a political style program where the kids actually run for office. They have a campaign manager that make campaign speeches, and then we give them a platform, a choice of platforms. They can run as an industrialist, a constructionist, or enterprise party. They choose one. We define it for them, and then they build their case for being a leader based on one of those 3 categories. Exactly. And so right now we have a youth board of directors. We have a president who's actually just went to the 8th grade this year, a young lady by the name of Taylor White. Okay. And we also have a junior CEO. And so those kids they go to all of our meetings. They have input. They can't vote on what the board does, but they do have input, and we listen to what they have to say. And so they're empowered by the fact that they made a suggestion and they saw us carry it out.
Right.
Exactly.
That's great.
Exactly. So, what impact with your inspiration for starting the mentoring program and the like you said, the secondary trauma that you went through? What impact do you feel your organization will have on the youth that you mentor?
One of the things that I try to instill in kids is the importance of education. The dropout rate in our community is it's alarming. It's growing, and what we try to instill in kids is that what you want to do is finish school, and you want to finish it not just barely making it, but you want to excel in it. One of the things I found out about dropouts: 60% of all dropouts end up in prison at some point in their lives. And when we think about this, we spend a lot of money in different areas. Here's two areas. In one, it costs about $10,200 to keep a kid in school for a year.
Wow.
It costs about $5,500 to house a prisoner for 1 year.
Wow.
And so it just makes us want to ask ourselves the question: where do we want to invest our dollars?
Exactly. That's crazy.
That's just some of the things that we think about when we want to keep kids in school. There's a reason. Dropouts, they earn about $50,000 less than a person who graduates school.
Wow.
That's just over a year. A dropout, average salary for a dropout is somewhere between $12,000 and $24,000 a year.
Goodness.
Wow.
And that's sometimes, not just, starting out at a job. That's some people that have dropped out of school. Their jobs, they can only find jobs that make about $15,000 a year.
Wow. Exactly. Wow.
In our community, if we continue to water down our community with these type of opportunities that people have to, they don't look for them. Those opportunities kind of find them.
Yeah.
That's not something that you reach out for. And so then we look at our community, and our community becomes more and more watered down over the years, and we wonder why we don't make the kind of progress that we want to make. It's because a lack of education in a lot of areas.
Exactly. And it's crazy when you look at a lot of websites. When you're looking for a home and you go to these websites and it shows you the average income for a certain area. When you look around the area that you're targeting, the Kansas City area, when you look all around that area, the average income for like a North Kansas City, a Blue Springs, and Olathe, Overland Park, it's about $50,000 to $75,000 more than it is for the inner city, which is what you're targeting. So
absolutely,
and that is, it's mind blowing. Some of the reasons, and then some of the other reasons, it's like, well, where is it coming from?
Yeah.
And see, here's another important thing that there's so many factors involved, and we're not going to cover them all today. But when you think about, you look at the area that we target, and they have a chart that tells you the life expectancy of that area.
That's
the life expectancy in a lot of the areas that we work in the forward north end of town out to about maybe say 55th Street. The life expectancy is about 66 years. But when you go further out south where people live and they have all these different amenities and they have higher incomes, the life expectancy is about anywhere from 80 to 89.
Wow. That's a big difference.
And so all of these things stem from, lack of education and getting the proper employment and different things. So that's why we create these door opening experiences with DOLOCOIN mentoring so that kids can experience the fact that, hey, I do belong in the boardroom. I can be a doctor. I can be a lawyer. Exactly. I can be an engineer. I can do all of these things. All I have to do is apply myself. And we just teach kids to apply themselves to learning and recommit themselves to learning.
Wow.
Okay.
Amazing.
Well, hearing that you witnessed a homicide, I'd like to ask you, there's been a rise in homicide in recent years. What do you think is the contributing factor to that rise?
Unfortunately, I believe that poverty contributes a lot to, to violent crime itself. We have an obligation to our children, to our community, to everybody that surrounds us, to do everything that we can to create the kind of environment that is safe, that is a great learning environment, that people can, get out and walk their dogs and ride a bike. They're putting a lot of bike lanes here in the inner city, but, we've never trusted anybody to the point where we want to get out and ride bikes, but we need to do that. We need to recreate an environment in our city, in our community, where people feel safe to just go out and go for a run or go for a walk or walk their family or do those things that look like, it looks healthy. It looks like, we're thriving. It looks like we're, doing the things that really, help us grow and create a good mental, place around town where, all of these things are important to our community, and if we don't do it, nobody else is going to do it for us.
Yes.
We have to do it.
Exactly.
Quality of life is what it is.
It is a good quality of life, and we have to seek that. When we think about, the term quality of life, all of the things that make life good, that make life, make you want to get up in the morning and just, our neighbors, we have streets and blocks where, we have people living on both sides of that street. There's 12 houses on one side, 15 on the other side, and those people don't know each other. They don't interact anymore.
Exactly.
Because,
we don't do.
Somebody's always peeking out the shade. And,
those kind of things we have to get back to. We have to correct those things.
Exactly.
So I think if we start doing some of the things that speak to life and produce life and produce progress, I think those things will help us to eliminate the homicide. You're not going to get around and take all of the guns from people, but if we, one of the things that we try to do with our children is give them an attitude to where they look for life and they anticipate living, and they respect their lives and as well as the lives of others. And so we have a lot of people now that evidently they don't respect their life, they don't appreciate theirs, they don't appreciate the life of others, they don't appreciate the fact that you have a nice home, and to the point where I just want to find out, what did you do to get to where you are, instead of breaking in when you leave and take what you have. Those kind of things we just need to.
So you've been in Kansas City all your life.
Yes.
Been in Kansas City all your life. You've seen a lot of things like you described with the young man and the cab driver. Heard a lot of things. You were around when they were the military was escorting people back and forth to jail after Martin Luther King got assassinated.
Yeah, I remember that.
You've been around for the change in the city. To where 55th was considered out south.
Yeah. Yeah. Growing up in where I grew up on 12th Street, actually 39th Street was considered out south when I was growing up. If you went past 39th Street, man, you were doing something. I remember the church that I used to go to, Zion Grove Baptist Church. They had an annual Bible school, and they had a picnic on that Saturday.
Yeah, I remember.
And I remember we would load up the buses, and we would drive all the way to Swope Park. It seemed like I was going out of town.
Wow.
When we get out to Swope Park, and we seen all this green grass, and I was like, man, where is this? Or, going out to, used to have amusement park at 75th and Prospect called Fairyland Park.
Oh, yeah.
I heard
when we went to Fairyland Park, man, it was like we had hit the big time. And we just learned to appreciate things.
Yeah.
And so now we just need to get back to that, that time when we appreciate other things and other people and the beauty that the city possesses, and all of those things. I developed a term recreational direction.
Okay.
That's the way I feel about it. That's how I view it. And I try to answer the question every day of my life: is it easier to build the life of a child or repair the life of an adult? And so that's why I do the mentoring, because I realize that it's to build the life of a child, it's easy, but I also know that if we don't build the lives of children, we're going to have to repair the lives of adults.
Exactly. That getting biblical here for a second, that ties into when Joshua was circumcised.
Right.
He was supposed to be circumcised as a kid, 8 days old.
Right.
But he didn't get circumcised until he was an adult. So when he got circumcised as an adult, he had to march around Jericho 7 times with this circumcision. And if you know anything about the circumcision, you want me to march around an entire city while I'm hurting.
Wow.
So it just speaks to
absolutely
either building the life of a child or repairing the life of an adult. So with that, let's stick with that here. The last few minutes, you've seen all of that. You've been around all of that. What would you tell your younger self? What advice would you give your younger self?
Oh, I would tell myself, prepare yourself. Prepare to be successful. Listen to people around you. I developed a program called PEEP, P-E-E-P. It's preparation first, because you can't be successful in anything unless you prepare.
Exactly.
And then even evaluate your own idea. Poke holes in it. Tell it to somebody so that you can see if it holds water. Okay. Then after you go through all of that preparation and evaluation, you got to expect it to happen, and which is the E. And then the other P is proceed.
Exactly.
Right.
If you have to go through a brick wall, as long as you evaluate it and you know that your process, your system is viable and it's going to work, no matter what anybody tells you, you can't do. And so I let a lot of people tell me in my younger days what I couldn't do.
Yeah, that's a lot of our problem.
And that's probably where I had unfortunately, my father wasn't around. And when he came around, when I told him, I said, I want to be a catcher for the Cubs. They want me to come up to Omaha and try out. He said, you'll never be able to do that. And I listened to him instead of listening to me.
Spirit killer right there.
Yeah. But other people who saw me later in my later years, they said, man, we thought you went off to play professional baseball, because they recognized my ability more than I did.
Exactly.
And so what you have to do as a young person, recognize your own ability. Don't let people tell you what you can't do. Find the people that are cheering for you. I remember my baseball coach at 12 years old, and I should have listened to him. He told us in our championship game, we're playing a championship game against a team that had already beat us 16-4 during the regular season. He said this. He said, there's going to be a lot of people out there cheering for you. He said, there's going to be a lot of people out there that don't want you to win. He said, tune out the people that don't want you to win. Listen to the people that are cheering for you and go on and beat this team. We beat the Mustangs 16-4. That was back in the days of YMCA baseball.
Wow, yeah.
Ernie Mills, a long time ago. But I still remember that. And that all of those things that I remember from back then, all of those motivating things, I still remember those.
Yeah.
And I use those sometime today. Just like
right. Exactly.
Stuff there.
Well, you are definitely better than I am. Of course, you're my dad. So, but I would tell my younger self not to eat the last donut. That's when my weight was out of balance. But no, with all seriousness, we appreciate Larry Sanders being here with us today.
I love it.
DOLOCOIN mentoring. We appreciate it. Hearing
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us.
Not only do we appreciate hearing it, we hope that it does something for those who listen, those who tune in, our youth as well as our adults. I want to thank my daughter Zamare and her friend Jada. They helped put together our intro. Now we just have to figure out technologically how to put it on. We don't know how to put it on. But no, we thank them. I want to thank my wife. She supports us. She helps us. She allows us to do it.
just thank everybody. I mean, everybody viewing this. I mean,
exactly.
This is definitely a learning experience, and we're going to perfect our craft, and we're going to take it to the next level.
Exactly, definitely take it to the next level. Don't forget, follow us on Twitter. I am O Meech. That is 00MEECH.
And I am Mo Reppin 8161 MOREPPIN 8161.
And we hope you remember what he said, because there's a long swing.
All right, and I'm just glad to be here. It's my first time experiencing something like this. But you can look up, find us at www.DOLOCOINmentoring.com. You can find out what we're doing. If you want to get your children involved, we start at K, go all the way to 12. And we have something for everybody.
Exactly. With that, we're going to close out. We want to thank you for tuning up to the Huddle Up podcast.
Till next time, huddle up.